everybody, to the Hot Tag Hooligans Wrestling Podcast Show with myself, Aaron, and Tom. On this week's episode, we continue our association with Capital Championship Wrestling. And who else would we want to have on the show but the global fighting champion herself, Rebecca Scott? How's it going?
Oh, I am so excited to be here. Thanks for having me today.
Well, you retained the title over Nikki Duke. And let me just say this, okay? That was one of my favorite Twitter moments of the year so far. Of you pulling up to her house as she's getting out of the vehicle, ramming her head, putting the beat down on her, and walking away like a champ should.
You should not take things that don't belong to you. You just shouldn't. And I think Miss Duke learned a very valuable lesson that day.
Yes, I do too. I'm glad no assault charges were filed, and I'm glad y'all were able to settle that in the ring. Is it settled though?
See, from my end, I would say yes, right? I got the victory and I, did what I had to do. How she feels about it, I don't know. Everybody for the longest time thought that Nikki and I were actually friends, but that's never been the case. We have a mutual friend in Megan Bain, and her and I have never really clicked. And I think that showed more than anything in this last show.
And for anyone who missed that, head on over right now to Rebecca's Twitter account and watch that beatdown. It, like I said, it kind of made my day the other day as I kind of saw that. It made me want to talk to you even more. But let's talk a little bit about CCW right now, because for myself, this is a promotion that's kind of on the rise, especially up in the Northeast. And I love the fact that they really give women a platform. Is that something that elevates you to them?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've said it over and over and over again. CCW is my home. When I first started wrestling, Marcella was one of the first people to give me an opportunity, and I want to stay there as long as I can. The locker room, everything about Capital Championship Wrestling is just uplifting for everybody involved, and there's so much love in the locker room and so much creativity. It's just the greatest place. If people are still not catching on to CCW, they need to get with it quick, because it is, like you said, it is on the rise, but it is going places, great places.
Yeah, I feel like you guys are just having a lot of fun. Looking at social media and the things that are going on, which I think is missing in a lot of independent promotions, or even in national televised promotions.
Yeah,
I feel like when there's that fun that's mixed in, you can see it in the product, and it makes a really big deal. Do you feel like that's something that is motivating to the whole roster as far as to, push that brand?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when you have a good, you create a good product based off of how you treat people, right? And there's never been any type of moment that I have been a part of at CCW where I would think, oh, these people aren't going to give their 110%, because everybody's just treated so well. It's such, like I said, it's that environment where everybody wants to step up their game and then rise it higher and then higher and higher. And I'm hoping that that's what we get to do, because I don't get it, but it's just a great environment to be a part of.
It also seems like y'all have a lot of creative freedom. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, sometimes I feel like one of the other things that's kind of lacking in the independent scene, and sometimes on televised wrestling, is really good storylines, right? We need to tell these stories. We need to have that creativity, the freedom of our creative minds, because that's what this is about. You know what I mean? That's why we're doing what we're doing. So I think that Marcello kind of just says, hey, take the reins and see where it goes. And I can't thank him enough for that, because it just allows you, you're not stuck in a little box. You know what I mean? When you're stuck in a box, you're not authentic. You can't be who you want to be or who you truly are. You just, it's a different ball game over there.
It seems like at CCW, the roster is ever expanding as they're continuously bringing new talent in to the promotion. And they've got the Battle of the Throne coming up at the first of the year, and they've already announced some great names. Billie Starkz is on her way in. Lady Frost is on her way in. Are you planning on entering perhaps that?
Ooh, well, let me tell you, I am the nicest person in the world, and I love to fight. As the global fighting champion, I feel like it kind of would make sense for me to be in it, right? I feel like I kind of have to jump in on that. Plus, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but Billie Starkz and we met probably 2 or 3 months into my wrestling training. I went to a seminar that Deanna Perrazzo and Tasha Still put on, and we had a match. And I'm gonna be very honest, she whooped my butt. She and I told her, I shook her hand after the match, and I said, "Give me a year." And then let's do this again. It'll be completely different. So I kind of feel like this might be that chance, right? Jump in there.
Yeah, and you know, Billy is a great friend of our show. We kind of consider ourselves a big Starch friend. So, but we like you, and we're totally down for this matchup. So if we can have this happen at CCW, we're going to be all for it.
Yeah, I'm for it. Like I said, she's an incredible athlete, but I might have learned a couple tricks since then.
So, how exciting is it for you to be able to work for a promotion that is constantly bringing in such good talent, and these talents want to work there? I'm sure that's very motivating. But how does that make you feel?
Yeah, it is very motivating, but it also makes me want to step up my game too, right? Because I'm still fairly new to the wrestling world, almost 2 years now, but that's still, in the grand scheme of things, some of our vets the talent is unmatched, but it just makes me want to do better. But then also the lineups, I'm like, I have to wrestle all of these women. I have to put on insane matches with everybody that I come across. I just want to wrestle everyone. So CCW is a really cool place for that to be happening at.
And you mentioned you're kind of new to this, and your training was different than most people's. It was a total secret. You may be one of the only people that we've ever had on the show that kept your training a big secret. Tell everyone about that.
Yeah, so I have always been a wrestling fan. And during COVID, during the lockdown, I decided I also do huge birthdays for the people I love. So during COVID, I thought, what else can I do? Everybody learned some weird trick or, skill, right? And professional wrestling was mine. So I did not tell my boyfriend that I was training. I told him I was kickboxing. So I would come home busted up. One time I came home with a bloody nose, and I had it all over my clothes. And he was just like, "Do you really need kickboxing that bad?" And I just said, "I do. I really need it." So I think like 2.5 months in, I partnered up with ECPW, and I brought him along. We created an event for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, made a bunch of money for them. I brought him along, and I said, "Oh, there's nothing else to do, but let's go to this wrestling show." And then, lo and behold, I was in the show, and he was completely shocked, and as were a couple of other people that had no idea that this is what I was doing. But yeah, I kept it a secret for almost 3 months, and I was training 4 days a week, and I put in everything I had in that short amount of time, and took some bumps, and then here I am.
So, what was the reactions? How did they handle that?
Oh, I've got the whole thing on film. We actually put together a cool little documentary that I hope is gonna see the light of day soon. But he was completely shocked. I mean, everybody, their hands were on their head. People were standing up. They were holding chairs. It was crazy. At the end of my match, of course, I won the match, and I went around to grab the mic to, wish him a happy birthday and, thank everybody for coming, even though it was lockdown. And I got ambushed by another female wrestler, and she threw me through a table, and the crowd, when I tell you, the crowd went silent, and I heard one voice in the background, and I knew that one voice was my boyfriend. Yeah, went crazy for it. I'm laying there, I'm like, okay, this is what it is. But it was great, and the crowd loved it. It was still, to this day, I think about it, I smile so much because it was such a cool experience.
Man, I don't know if I can top that, for a birthday present to my wife.
Yeah.
the equivalent of that would be probably having to watch all of Friends, the TV series, and probably have to take her to where it was filmed and act like I really enjoyed it. That would probably be the biggest surprise I could probably get her. So yeah, I mean that's just crazy though that you were able to keep that, especially in this day and time because. But you are kind of like a wild card. You're into jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And so you had the perfect backstory for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So now here we are, and now you're the global fighting champion. And what a ride it's been so far for you.
It's been a beautiful ride. Yeah, I mean, I've always been that type of person who has like a lot of fight in me, and once I learned how to channel that through through my jujitsu and my MMA, I don't I'm unstoppable now. It's gonna take a lot more to keep me down.
Now, in your regular job, it's crazy, and I don't know how you make time to even wrestle. You're a flight attendant.
Yes.
And so you're always traveling 32 countries, I think, the last I've seen that you have traveled to. So you're probably our first flight attendant we've also had on the show. So what is a weekly schedule? How many days a week does a flight attendant typically work, or in hours and a day?
So it's all it's a whole nother ball game, but basically the way our scheduling works, it's all done on based on seniority. So when I was a brand new flight attendant, there was no way I would be able to do what I do now with the flexibility. But now that I've been there and I have some seniority, I can kind of pick and choose when I want to work my trips. So I choose not to do anything on the weekends. Sometimes I'll fly, I'll do international during the week. And then sometimes I just don't have that motivation to fly at all, so I'll just stay home for the week. It really is, it's the coolest job ever because I can pick and choose and kind of work what I want to work and
what's the longest flight you've been on for
the longest flight was from, I think it was from Beijing to Newark, but originally it was, I think that flight is 14 hours, maybe 15, but we had a medical emergency in air. So we had to divert to Winnipeg, Canada. And because we had a bunch of people on the plane that were going to the US and not Canada, we had to keep everybody on the plane. They had to come on and take the gentleman off. And then we had to continue on to Newark. So I think by the time I got off of that plane was 22 hours. And it was insane. Yeah.
I can imagine that.
Yeah, I've been blessed. I've been blessed anytime I've flown. Everything's kind of gone okay. I haven't never had any delays or anything of that nature. And I just could not imagine a 20+ hour flight.
Yeah, it was tough. So I will disclaimer, flight attendants on the big planes, we do have little bunks in the top of the plane, so we can crawl up there and take a nap. But that one was particularly hard to do because we had the medical emergency. So we had to help the passenger. And then by the time we got to Winnipeg, we unloaded him and took back off.
It's all foreign for me because I've never even stepped foot in a plane.
Really?
Never. Yeah, never.
Wow.
And I don't plan on it either.
You sound like my family. My parents fly for free anywhere in the world they want to go. How many times have they used my benefits? 0. They just don't want to do it. I guess it's just a personal choice, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I would never, but I don't look for it. I would rather drive.
Yeah.
And I don't even like to drive more than about 5 hours. But I don't know. It's just a weird thing.
There's such a big world out there. You got to go see a little bit of it. Little bit.
Yeah. I'd like to go to the places. I just don't want to fly there.
You can take a boat?
Maybe.
Well, maybe you're going to need to. It's much quicker to fly, I can guarantee you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, from where I'm at to Orlando, Florida, if I drove it, it's 13 hours. But if I drive to Nashville, which is a 2-hour drive, and then I get on a flight, I'm there in an hour and 30 minutes. Sign me up. All day, every day, because we have the rest of the day once we get there. We always take the early morning flight, get checked in, and then we got a full day, But, I can understand what Tom's saying. Some people, it's just a different experience for them. They're not comfortable with it. So what is that the craziest story you've ever had is the medical emergency on the flight?
No, not by a long shot. There's so many things that happen. Any job that you have dealing with the public, you're gonna get interesting stories, right? Like it doesn't matter where you're at in the field, but dealing with the public, it's gonna be weird. We've had people. I think the most common thing is for people to take sleeping medication, but then drink. And I don't know if you've ever experienced anybody on Ambien after they've drank and then they didn't fall asleep, but they are some of the most insane creatures out there. And we've dealt with a lot of them on the flights.
Yeah, I do not envy you at all as far as that goes. Now, as far as seeing the country, seeing the world, what's your favorite place you've been?
I get asked this question all of the time, and it's one of the hardest questions because there's so many different memories tied into so many different places. I will say the most surprisingly beautiful place that I was really nervous to go to, but turned out to be one of my favorite places in the world is Israel. So when I flew into Tel Aviv, I was terrified because, in itself, the country is it's a war zone all the time, we could from our hotel, which was paradise. I can't even describe how beautiful it was. You could hear bombs going off in the distance, right? So you knew it wasn't, but then it's just the people are beautiful. The food was so good. It was one of the most never judge a book by its cover because it was just so great. Edinburgh, Scotland might be one of my favorite places that I've been to too, but it's all tied into memories and, people that I've shared this stuff with.
Now, does that help you? Like, let's say someone in Scotland wants to book you for a show, you being a flight attendant, does that kind of help you a little bit as far as getting to those locations?
That's right. Anywhere. I want to wrestle everywhere. So any country I will go to and I will wrestle there. Marcello and I were actually talking about me maybe reaching out to a few places to see if I could take my global fighting championship somewhere.
Nice.
A great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it should be just like the 24/7 championship. Whoever wants it, come get it.
Come get it. That's right.
And just don't steal it from you because now listen, you're not going to get away with in some of those countries what you did to Nikki Duke.
Well, I don't think that they would come to my house and steal from me. I think Nikki Duke has had that coming for a very long time. I'll say that a very long time.
So you mentioned upcoming CCW and some of the shows that they're going to put forward. But for yourself, what's a goal in 2023 that you're really looking forward to driving home? Is it maybe taking on Kylan King and taking that title and becoming Rebecca Two Belts in a way, or what's one goal that you have set forward this year?
So I absolutely want to get in the ring with Kylan King. I think she's a phenomenal athlete as well. And it would really test my ability. That's what I'm doing this for, right? Like I need to see how far I've come and what I've got to offer the world. I think after this last year, one of my biggest things is I got to stay happy while I'm wrestling, right? I've got to keep that. Mental health is so important, and in this industry, it can deteriorate like that if you allow it to. So that's going to be one of my main focuses is just doing this because I love to do it and wrestling the way I want to wrestle and not allowing like the outside voices and people to say, you have to do this, or you have to do this, or you have to do this. I think that's one of my biggest goals, but also, with this global fighting championship, there's so much more I want to do with that itself. My biggest goal, I don't know if it's even possible for 2023, but I want to get to Japan and I want to wrestle in Japan. And that's probably one of my biggest goals right now.
So with Capital Championship Wrestling, where do you see it going, and what do you think that you guys are doing that's going to help push that promotion?
I think the sky's the limit, honestly. With CCW, there's so many people on the roster. I could write everybody on the roster I want to wrestle. Christina Marie, that just maybe I guess is not on the roster anymore, but hopefully she comes back because she's another one I really want to wrestle. I don't know, guys. I want to be a nice person, but I also want to fight everybody. So I don't have just like that set goal of this person or that person. I want to fight everybody. And I don't know. I'm a different human when I step into that ring, and I want to explore that a little bit more. And CCW is the place to be at. The roster, man, that roster.
Yeah, I mean,
it's exciting.
Yeah, definitely exciting. And when you look at, like I said, the tournament coming up, Lady Frost, Heather Reckless, Billie Starkz coming in. You got more people still not even announced yet. So I can just imagine, at the first of the year, when some people's schedules start freeing up a little bit, they're going to start knocking on the door to CCW, and hopefully you can get your hands on them. And if I have to send them a letter and get you that Billie Starkz match in that tournament, get you in that tournament, we're gonna do that. Definitely.
Oh yeah.
If not, I will message Billie when she comes back from Japan, and I will tell her to bring you to Jeffersonville, Indiana.
Oh.
And we will get you at Girl Fight, or we will get you at one of her, her promotions around here, and we'll get this match going.
Yeah, I've got a lot to prove in that, because I'm telling you, I was 3 months in and she whooped my butt. And this time it's not happening. I've got a lot more left in me, and I need that rematch.
It's okay. I am 0 months in, and she is 17 years of age, and she would probably whoop my butt. So there's no shame in your game. So,
yeah, she's so talented.
Yeah, absolutely.
So talented.
Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us. Before we let you go, though, plug yourself, plug your if you got any merchandise, or plug your social media.
Yeah, my social media, my Twitter and my Instagram are both the same. It's Rebecca J. Scott _ because again, my name is super common. And yeah, everything's on there. My LinkedIn tree and everything is on there through for my merch and all that fun stuff.
And we want to thank CCW, for helping us. Hey, it's okay. We want to thank CCW for definitely helping us get you on this show. Hopefully, it's not the last time we speak to you, and hopefully, we'll get to see you soon, live and in action. For myself and Tom, make sure everyone's hitting the subscribe button. Everyone, hopefully, is going to have a good holidays upcoming as well. Make sure you're doing what you need to do and stay safe. Hit that subscribe button. For myself, Tom, and Rebecca, we thank y'all very much, and have a good night.